That moves us to the action agenda. 13, action as necessary or appropriate on matters discussed in executive session. To have a motion. Mr. Hogan.
I'd like to make a motion the board approve selected employment items shown in Exhibit A for action under executive session.
Do I have a second? Mr. Satterfield. I saw Mr. Satterfield before I heard you, Ms. Snipes. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That motion carries 7-0. And I believe that's it for executive session. Okay.
So,
All right, and that moves us to number 14 on the action agenda, approval of changing the July board meeting from July 15th, 2024 to July 22nd, 2024.
Yeah.
I think Dr. Ross?
do you need a motion?
Yeah, may I have a motion?
Yeah.
Mr. Hogan?
Make the motion that the board approve changing the July meeting from July 15th, 2024 to July 22nd, 2024.
Do I have a second? Ms. Snipes? Dr. Ross, do you want to lead that discussion?
Yeah, quickly, I would just say that we have a conflict with the July 15th meeting. Also, we have a lot of staff out during the 4th of July. Would only shrink our time to prepare for that meeting. And with your approval, we could have a much better preparation for July 22nd.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or concerns? All right, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? All opposed? One abstention? All right, so the motion carries 6 with 1 abstention. That brings us to 15 on the agenda, the approval of budget transfer for instructional supports. To have a motion. Does anybody have a motion before we go into discussion?
I'd like to make the motion the board approve budget transfers for instructional support shown in Exhibit E.
Have a second? Ms. Snipes? All right, Dr. Ross and Ms. Rawls.
Our interim chief of financial officer, Ms. Rawls, is here to answer any questions. This is a budget transfer request.
And this is the budget transfer request regarding supports for the teachers, the books, and I'm just trying to put it out there so that the public watching. For decodable text, classroom sets of grade level books, and behavioral interventions that will promote positive behavior. Any questions?
We discussed
We discussed this
at
last time. I'm
meeting.
just,
okay, just making
for
sure
purposes of the meeting, as we're approving a budget, I'm just trying to, budget transfer, I just want to put it out there. All right. All right, seeing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Ms. Rawls. That was an excellent presentation. And that brings us to 16, change order approval for Irmo High School East Wing. Mr. Hogan?
I'll make the motion the board approve change order for Irmo High School East Wing.
Do I have a second? Ms. Snipes? And then that's going to lead to considerable discussion. Dr. Ross?
Yes, Madam Chair. I would ask Mr. Wiseman and Mr. Allen could help us, and I would ask also we have 2 Calebs that are here, one from our attorney, but also our inspector to help with questions. I want to explain my memo this weekend. There are times during the construction process where we can plan on changes, and we'd like to bring those to you with plenty of discussions. There are other times where things are impacted and we're reacting to items that have impacted us. I'd like to show you the site of Irmo High School East Wing construction as of May 3rd. We got a call that we have 2 areas. PCO means potential change order, where in that parking lot, in that area, there are suitable soils that we can use. And so this change order would actually save us funds because we're going to be using soils in that area where we didn't think we would have. The other issue that we're looking at is PCO number 4. This is the area known as the McDaniels property. And so we're here to answer questions as to when we did the initial testing, did not find debris in the soil. You can see kind of the elevation difference in which we have to come down from the McDaniels property to the parking lot. But as they started to excavate the site in order to build the new East Wing, we found construction debris that has to be removed. Removing this to the initial dump is no longer an option because of the weight and size. So we had to find a new place to dump this, which is a change in the cost. And so our recommendation is that we approve these change orders. Change order 3 is a reduction, and our initial estimate. Change order 4 is an increase. We have Mr. Wiseman, Mr. Allen, and to answer any questions.
Is the debris the big rocks, or is it trash?
It's construction debris, like tearing up an interstate, concrete mostly.
I'm going to start. Any question? Mr. Hogan, did you have a question?
You said the change order 3 was a reduction?
If you can explain change order 3, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So, change order number 3, initially, we had a line item in the EdCon contract for, I think it was $27 a cubic yard, and we had about 4,300 cubic yards. That was the estimate. I think that brings us up to about $116,100. That was the initial estimate to basically to ensure that all the soils in the parking lot area were good. We were able to actually go back and use the existing soil, so we're able to pull that soil out of the ground, essentially dry it out, and then we're going to go back and just fill it back in, and then pack it back in like it's supposed to be.
So on that other slide, it was showing change order at 73,000, so I made that a 65, that roughly reduction?
So the other option that we had was, instead of bringing the new soil, we had a price of, I think it was $17 a cubic yard to use the existing soils, because they still have to dig all the dirt out, dry it out, and then put it back in the hole.
Okay, so change order 3 is to utilize the existing soil that we have there.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's a unit price listed in the contract.
Any other question? Ms. Huddle?
Just a follow-up on that. I'm confused. So the original contract was a firm fixed price bid, correct? It was a dollar amount that they bid.
Correct.
And are you saying that this change order 3 amount was already included in that total price?
Can you repeat that?
Okay, the original contract was bid at a price, and I don't remember the exact, roughly $38 million. And then there was a list of things for soils where it was a per unit. Are you saying that the $75,000 for change order 3, are you saying that was included in the list price that we already approved?
That's one of the, that is actually the list price for that overall, for that part of the project. I'm not understanding exactly what you're saying.
Okay, and maybe we might need Mr. Reiser, but
Okay.
there was a bid for this project, and it was, I'm just going to say 38 million because I don't remember the exact dollar amount. And in the contract, it said if the soil is this, it's one price. If the soil is this, another, and it was a per unit. And I just want to be clear, I'm hearing that we're saving money with change order 3. So are we saying that that money, that $75,000, was already in that bid price, or is it on top of that bid price?
What?
I guess what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, was the 116 in the $38 million?
No, I'm talking about the first change order 3. I guess I don't understand if
Why
it's
there's a change order?
saving us money. Why is
Yeah.
there's a change order?
Yeah, how is there a
Yeah, I
change
Because
don't
order?
a change
understand
order
that.
can go up or down.
I'm sorry?
A change order can go up or down. And because we have to, this was not, we didn't know exactly how much dirt we were going to remove, and it exceeded the $50,000 mark, it is a change order. So instead of us spending the $116,000, we were able to go another avenue and use the existing soils.
Okay, so there was a $116,000 item in the bid that we already approved for soils, is that correct?
To put it another way, if we have windows and we have a price for windows for $2 million, and then we get out and we order the windows and the windows are $1.5 million, are you going to bring us a change order for $500,000? Because the windows are included in the 38 million? Is that what you're talking, I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly, I
it's
don't
already
even
part of the
understand.
38 million.
I think that they can correct me if I'm wrong, but what we're saying is that so the amount for moving soils was always a moving target. The 116,000 that was included in the bid was an estimate. It was an educated guess.
Okay, that's, thank you.
Yes. And so what they're saying now is this is our official documentation that instead of 116, it's just
Okay.
73.
And I wish we really, we really wouldn't say that because the second change order puts us way over budget. So, I mean, it's a change order, right? We had an estimate, we didn't know what it would be. Change order 3 says, oh, this is going to be 75,000, so we have to approve it. Change order 4 says 100 and something thousand.
But it is less than the expected price in the bid. So that's
Okay.
that's where it was set.
I just think it seems like when you're talking about one item out of at the very beginning of a big project, we're probably going to have a few of these. So it seems like you're saying we're saving money, but we don't really know if we're saving money because we haven't gotten through the whole project.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Yeah, it
yes.
just seems like out of context for purposes of what we're talking about.
And I have some other questions too. If
Does
it's,
anybody else have any questions before Ms. Huddle? All right, go ahead.
okay, so, and I want to preface this with when nobody was here at 6 o'clock, I made a motion to remove this from the agenda because I have questions that I believe are legal questions. And I was told I could ask them in public, so I'm going to ask them. And some are policy and some are legal. So my first question is, have we already paid anything for this yet, for either change order 3 or 4? Have we written a check for 3 or 4?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So both of these are estimates. They haven't done all the work yet, correct? So what's the process? If we approve the estimate, who tracks what it actually cost, and then do we approve the actual, which will almost certainly be less or more, because nobody could possibly be this precise about soils?
So we're actually going through and we're bringing we're having the everything surveyed. And we have Bruce Todd with ADC, our civil engineer. He can go through and explain that process.
Hi, excuse me. I'm Bruce Todd with ADC Engineering. I completed the civil engineering design for the project, so basically everything outside of the building envelope. So to confirm the actual volume of soil that's coming out, which we knew from the beginning after we got the geotechnical report and subsequent geotechnical reports that we had to remove a certain estimated amount of soil, so that we know exactly what we're paying for. When we take the soil out, we'll have a surveyor come in and survey the topography of the hole that's left, and then we can calculate precisely the difference between the surface elevation that's out there now versus the hole that's going to be left once they take all the soil out, do a quick computation, and they're paid on the unit price in their bid for that amount of soil.
So as far as the process for the board to approve it, since it's over $50,000, I guess my question is, this is an estimate. It could change.
Correct.
So does the board approve this and then approve the final? Or do we approve this, and if the final is within tolerance, we don't have to approve it? How does that process work?
So the board, based on my understanding of the policy, the board would approve this amount, and then after it is independently verified to a reasonable degree of certainty, then an additional or a deductive change order a subsequent change order will then be directed and approved. So that could be, it could be less, It could be more if the, the cubic yards is more. So,
Will
now
that
whether or
come-
not those subsequent change orders are subject to board approval depends on whether or not they're at the $50,000 threshold.
Okay, so that's why I'm asking,
Well,
because,
Can I follow up on that?
Yes.
So do you mean that if it goes over the $109,000, we're approving it for $109,000. If it goes over $109,000, we're paying the $109,000, that's approved, but then you'll have to come back to us if it goes over that? And is that if it goes over 50,000 or
Yes.
10,000?
It
So,
would,
like-
a change order would not need to, pursuant to my interpretation of the board policy, a change order does not need to come back for board approval unless it is $50,000 or over.
Right, but we're already going over with the $109,000. So you've already gone over the $50,000 and we're approving a specific amount. So so I guess my point is like, when do you
I
stop?
don't think it's cumulative. I think I think it's judged by the independent value of the specific change order.
Okay, so what I'm saying, I may be muddling the words, but what I'm saying is, once we approve it for $109,000, it's not going to come back to us again unless it's $159,000?
Can I share one thing?
No,
Does that make sense?
Let me say how the policy reads. All right, so all change orders come to the board for informational purposes. You get them in a quarterly report. That's per policy. So you will see all of our change orders. We're on number 3 and 4, but you will see 1 and 2. We bring those every quarter. But we go to 109, 140 if approved tonight. And to your point, if it's 45,000, they have the flexibility additional to approve that, and we would report that on our quarterly report. But if the next one is over 50,000, we would have to bring that back here, correct?
it's not, maybe this is a better way to analyze it. The next change order, if, let's just say there was 2 dump trucks extra, and it's $10,000, it won't be change order 4A and added to 109. It's a separate change order. It'd have a separate number with a separate value.
Right. So I'm just saying, like, technically, approving this change order for $109,000 could really be approving it for $145,000. Because you're still getting, I mean, if we get the $109,000 right now, and then you do that work and you realize there's $40,000 extra of work that needs to be done, that's still a change order on the original amount that we're talking about.
Yes, but
But we're not approving it.
right.
So
But
technically, you could break this into like multiple invoices and it would be like $300,000. But right now, when we're talking about it, it's $109,000.
Right now, the contractor has said that for 73 for change order 3 and 109, 140 for change order 4, that's now after evaluating it, that is their best estimation for what it's going to cost. They may very well verify it, and I hope this is the case, but with respect to 4, they may verify that, hey, it was actually less. In that case, you would have a deductive change order where you save money.
Okay. Ms. Tuttle.
all right, so I want to rephrase that because I share, I think, what the same concern. So I'm going to focus on change order 3. If we approve the $75,000 and it turns out to be $95,000, we won't see it again because the $20,000 will be an incremental change order under $50,000, correct?
It is not required by board policy to come before you for approval.
Okay. All right, so here's where I'm getting at. We got we got a supplemental email, and it had the change order amounts in it in a little bit more detail than what's here, and there was no signatures on that. And the board policy says for change orders to be accepted, the owner, architect, and contractor must all agree.
So the actual cover letter apparently was not sent on that PDF.
There was a cover letter, but it was not signed by anybody, and it wasn't even on letterhead. I don't know who wrote it.
So the cover letter for that was not included, I guess, on that PDF because the cover letter actually lists another PCO for, I think, yeah, it's for some storm drainage for just under $50,000. So that, because that doesn't need to go to the, it needs to be brought to the board for informational purposes, but that wasn't something that needed to be brought to the board to be voted on. For some reason, the architect tied that in with PCO 4. I'm not sure why they did that, so that was just a clerical error on the architect's end. So they're
Well,
going to
I
ensure they don't do
understand
that
that,
next
but
time.
We have to follow board policy.
I
And
got you.
board policy says that this be brought by the architect and signed off on by the owner, architect, and contractor. And I have not received anything showing that all those people signed off on it. In fact, what we got wasn't even signed by the owner. There was a space the contractor, there was a space to sign it, but there was no signature.
So I didn't sign it off yet because it has not been approved.
But we got it from the architect, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
we got it
Well,
from the architect.
We had the architect
Yeah.
approval.
So we have both the contract and the architect has both signed
Okay.
off on it.
We don't have it, okay? And I'm not
understand.
finding fault with you. I understand what happened. I'm just saying, we must follow board policy.
Do you have it on email?
Ma'am?
Do you have it on email? Is it like on a PDF?
Yes, ma'am.
That, like during this meeting, you could send it to us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The other question I have is, and this is a legal question, on change order 4, where is a provision in the contract that we have to pay because the contractor has to take the unsuitable soils a further distance? Where's that in the contract?
I don't have the contract in front of me, but I think, generally the provisions of movement of soils was the contractor was upfront from the beginning that is a process for which it is evaluated in the moment. It's evaluated once an assessment has been made. There were also allowances for different prices for different conditions of soil. And so they're now saying this is what the cost
Why
is.
are we responsible? The contractor could have put in the contract, they're the ones that set those unit prices, they could have put that in there. They didn't tell us where they're taking the soil in the contract, why, if it would cost extra. So I don't understand why our district is responsible for paying for that. If they saw that as a possible issue, they could have put it in a contract.
I understand your concern,
But why should, you're our lawyer, why should the district pay for stuff? This is a lot of money, and this is money that could be used for something else. Why are we liable for this?
well, the contractor has explained this is the cost associated with assessing and taking care of an unforeseen condition. So
Does the contract make us responsible for that? Using Ms. Hines' explanation, what if they can't get the windows that they thought that they would put in there, and they can't get them, and now they have to get more expensive windows? Are we responsible for that?
if you approve the change order, if you don't, then the conditions are there. They need to be cleared, and the contractor has told you what the cost is for clearing the condition.
But this is a bid contract. This is not a contract where you pass all your costs along to us. They won the bid, and it's supposed to include everything. So, I have a concern with that. I also have a concern with the volume of it, okay? If they're not responsible, what about the due diligence when that property was bought? 2,400 loads of trash and debris spread over an acre would make it 21 feet deep in trash and debris.
I can speak to the due diligence.
Okay.
First of all, I want to get out there that the parcel of property was absolutely an essential purchase. It had to happen because of the design, and I don't think there were any other alternatives to design the school to make it efficient without purchasing the property. So we were going to buy it regardless. But in the due diligence period prior to purchasing the property, a Phase 1 environmental report was sought and provided on November the 21st, 2022. That Phase 1 environmental report did not report any suspect conditions other than it noting a nearby dry cleaner. There were no indications in the Phase 1 report that would indicate the need for a Phase 2 and any additional environmental study. With respect to a direct consultant, Terracon provided a geotechnical report on November the 14th, 2023. In that case, there were 6 specific boring locations on the new property which would be underneath the pad for where the building itself would be. None of those borings or test pits that were initiated by Terracon provided any indication of this particular construction debris.
So how many did they do?
They did 6 underneath the building pad and several others along areas where there would be roads cut in. So it's generally their scope to provide borings where building components will be. In this case, you have to excavate a larger portion of just the building footprint in order to have a suitable elevation. And so in the process of the contractor's excavation of a larger area, that's where the construction debris was located. But it was not indicated underneath the building pad itself.
So they did or did not do soil samples in the area to be excavated?
In the area, yes, underneath the building pad, but not in the area where the construction debris was located.
Is the construction debris in the area where the building pad will be?
No, it won't. It's my understanding that it's not directly underneath the building pad.
So why do we have to remove it?
Because a larger area is designed to be excavated to get to and build the foundations for the building itself.
So what's the square footage of the area that has to be excavated that has this building debris on it?
That's undetermined at this point. I don't have a square footage of it or cubic yards.
If it's in your opinion so it's your opinion that we're liable for this. We're responsible per the contract to pay for this, not the contractor.
Can I ask a question before you answer that? If it is time sensitive that we move forward, because from what I'm understanding from y'all is regardless of who's liable for this situation, and regardless of the due diligence done, the materials need to be removed as soon as possible so that the construction can continue so we don't incur additional expenses for construction delays. Is that right? Like that's why it was
If the materials are not moved, the building cannot be constructed.
Right, and the longer that we wait, the more money it will cost the district, regardless of who's responsible for this situation.
Without a doubt.
Okay, so if we move forward and approve the change order, and at a later point, we determine or we, review all of the information that was given to us, and we have conversations with you, and it is determined that somewhere in the process, someone did something wrong. Are we waiving our rights by moving forward right now to pursue something against someone else?
I am going to reserve an answer for that question, and I would only answer it in executive session.
Okay. would your recommendation be that we move forward on the change order today?
Yes.
asking you.
Based on my evaluation of the due diligence and the request of the contractor, as well as the unit prices, the unit price estimates that were included, I would recommend moving forward with the change order so as not to delay the process.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry, I just hijacked your questioning. I did not mean to do that, but can I ask a question of what, if you're talking about increased expenses by delaying moving forward with the change order, like, do we have an estimate on like how much that typically costs? Like, if we delay moving forward right now, I mean, are we talking $5,000, $100,000? I mean, like, how does it usually work, like, per week? I mean, I know I'm asking like a ball.
It was kind of simplified to me. If we dig a big hole to remove 4,300 cubic yards of dirt, and it sits there and it rains, that 4,300 cubic yard hole now becomes 5,000 or 6,000 feet. So then we would have to come back and also excavate additional dirt to get the mud and to pump the water out. And they're talking about, mobilization and demobilization fees, stuff along those lines. So the longer we wait, and we don't move forward with this process, yes, it's going to cost more in the long run. We do not have any estimates or anything along those lines.
Mr. Scully.
I make a motion that we enter executive session.
I second it.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Abstaining? All right, so we had 1, 2, 5. Y'all don't laugh at me. We had 5 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 abstaining. We're going to enter executive session for a few minutes, and we will return. All right. I apologize for that brief diversion. I know we have a motion on the table. Is there any further discussion before I call for a vote? All right, seeing none, we have a motion on the table. I'm calling for the vote. All in favor? All opposed? 5 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstention. That motion carries.